Hello again and welcome to the show. As always, I'm your host Jason McNeil and this is Cup of Joe Canada. Now today on the show we're going to discuss road tolls coming to the GTA. Now, I say road tolls coming to the GTA, not road tolls proposed for the GTA, because I believe that John Tory is a shrewd enough politician that he already has the votes and that he understands that he can get this passed on council. Otherwise, I don't think he would take such a controversial stance. Now, having said that, it is another flip-flop. It is another change of opinion from what he said before he got elected to what he says after he got elected. And let's be honest, we can't even really fault him for that anymore. He's been very open about the fact that you say certain things during a campaign, and when you're in charge, it's different. He's not really shy about that at this point, right? So road tolls coming to, call it Toronto, but really it's the GTA, right? It's him, John Tory, continuing his effort to be the de facto mayor of the GTA. Right? It's kind of gangster when you think about it. He got Mississauga on the hook to pay for some of his smart track, and now what he's trying to do is pull in some taxes from the 905 so he doesn't have to overtax, in his opinion, the 416. So the first question is, are these user fees or are they taxes? Right? Because really they're both. It's a bit of a hybrid. It's a user fee in that it's pay to play. Right? You pay for use. If you take the road, you pay for the road. That's a user fee. But it's a tax because it's designed to bring in more than what it takes to maintain the road. It's designed to bring in enough to pay for transit and infrastructure and invest in the city of Toronto. So what you're doing is you're trying to take tax money from people using the roads, these two roads specifically, and pour that into the city itself, the city proper. So first, I would say it's kind of a safe bet politically. I know people would disagree with me, but for John Tory, it's a bit of a safe bet. Now, why is it a safe bet? Because one, it draws on the 905, right? So it's investment in Toronto, supposedly, that's going to come, but it pulls a little bit, or probably the majority, from the 905 and surrounding areas, and it also draws on the suburbs. Now, with the suburbs, he's going to get a little bit of a pass, right? Because John Tory as mayor has sped up the repairs on the Gardiner, right? He's synchronizing the traffic signals out in Scarborough. I don't know about the rest of the city, but I would imagine the program is across the city wide. So he has been fairly friendly to drivers, and locally, drivers will have other options, right? You can take other roads than the DVP or the Gardiner Expressway. So I think politically, he's going to get a bit of a pass because a lot of the taxes or a lot of the fees will be paid by people that don't get a vote for John Tory. And the rest of them will be paid or not paid by people who, hopefully feel like they have other options. For example, the Scarborough subway, right? That's coming out here. That's something John Tory has helped or supported to come to Scarborough. Maybe Scarborough residents give him a pass on the tolls, even though they're going to pay a lot of the tolls. So, truth be told, I think most residents of Toronto, the city, don't use these two roads very much, right? So most of the money is coming in from the 905. Many people in Toronto already want to tear down the Gardiner Expressway anyway, right? So those people could care less whether you get told or you don't get told to take the road, right? They would actually prefer you just ripped it down and screw you, drive through the city, I guess. So there's that as well. The only problem it really does is it opens the door to a Doug Ford, a Giorgio Mammoliti, a straight anti-tax, I don't want to pay any taxes type, because it is a slippery slope, right? You're taxing roads now, which you never did before. So now this is another revenue stream, and we all know how I feel about revenue streams, right? Essentially, you don't want to raise property taxes. You don't want Toronto to pay, and so you try to find other revenue streams or whatever to disguise who's paying what, and you just try to get as much money as you can. So what's really going on? It's an end run around the province, right? Because essentially he's saying, look, or council is saying, look, when they adopt this, that the transfer payments from the province, they're not good enough. We don't get enough, so we need more tax money from the 905 residents. We're also going to tax Toronto residents that use the highway, right? So we're trying to be fair, and we're trying to take more of that without the province having to take the hit and without excessively taxing people that get to vote for me, right? So you're really, it's a politically shrewd move to try and insulate everybody involved. 905 doesn't vote for the mayor of Toronto, and realistically, the province, they can wash their hands of it and be like, well, they're Toronto roads. We're not doing it. It's John Tory. So they can do that. Now, John Tory's fair share argument, which is how he's selling it, everyone has to pay their fair share, and the people that use the roads, they benefit from the city and everything else. Let me tell you straight up, it's bullshit, right? It's BS completely, and I'll tell you why. Number one, because it implies that the people coming in from the 905 don't add any value to the city. It's like the 905ers come in and they milk the city and that's all, so they need to pay their share. Here's the thing. A lot of them are service providers, and even more of them are coming in to spend $1 or $2. So a lot of the money that we get and a lot of the services we get provided as residents come from the 905. They don't just come in, milk our services, and drive off. That doesn't happen. Second reason that it's BS is because the roads have already been paid for through taxes, right? We have an allocation of tax money for roads, and these roads specifically, the Gardner Expressway, the money allocated there has been diverted. The people that you're saying need to pay their fair share have paid for these roads. The money was diverted into other services and other, I'll call it nonsense, because if you can't maintain the roads, all of the other stuff is nonsense, right? But it's been diverted until these roads started falling apart and crumbling. And then you made the argument, well, you know what, since they're crumbling, we should just, maybe we should just tear it down because it's crumbling. This is a problem that was created specifically by politicians. And now politicians are coming to people and saying the reason we need more from you is because you haven't paid your fair share, or you have to pay your fair share. It's your duty. No, it was their duty to take the money allocated and fix the roads properly so that they're not crumbling right now and we don't have to pay excessive amounts to fix them. Having said that, this is where we are, and this is what we're doing, so, it's up to you how you feel about it, right? Now, the effects, what are they? What are they on Toronto? What are they on the 905? We'll focus on Toronto because I believe they're trying to bury the taxes so that you don't see them, right? Toronto doesn't get charged because they don't ride these roads, and so hopefully they don't attribute whatever costs are involved to John Tory. Now, the truth is local traffic will go up, right? Local traffic has to go up because people like me who live in Scarborough, maybe I use the DVP and maybe I abuse the DVP. Maybe I get on the DVP at the 401 and I go to Winford and that's it. And I do it frequently. I'm going to stop doing that. Maybe I take Leslie, maybe I take Don Mills. Maybe people from Scarborough come in on Kingston Road, right? Maybe the people coming in from the west of the 905 get off and go through the downtown instead of taking the Gardner Expressway once they enter Toronto. As that happens, the price for the people who stay on the highway go up, right? Because the truth is the goal is to raise a certain amount of revenue. And if we don't raise that revenue, the prices are going to go up so we can. So the people who stay on the highway, you'll probably get less congestion, more local congestion, and the prices are inevitably going to go up because they want to make a certain amount of money. So as that happens, in Toronto, whether we like it or not, we're going to see premiums added onto goods and services. Anybody coming in, any company sending things in, they're going to add premiums because it costs them money to get the things to us, right? Once they add those premiums, they'll be for profit. Don't get it twisted. Just like the tax itself, it's not going to be designed to cover my cost. It's going to be designed to cover my cost and give me a little profit for my troubles, right? So that's going to be coming to Toronto, and hopefully they have enough, I guess, service providers and ways to try and negate it, but it's going to be tough. And the last thing that I'm actually very curious about is how does this affect the ridership projections for the SSE? Because in terms of local traffic, we're speaking specifically about Scarborough. I mean, I've said from a long time ago, the only way into the city really by car is 401 DVP and you're in. By subway, that's why we needed it extended, because you had to get all the way to Kennedy Station. So everyone takes the car. Now, you put this subway out here, does it actually change the way people, behave? Putting the subway in line with the tolls as, your route to get into the city, does that affect it? Does it make it more? I suspect it will, but it remains to be seen. These are, I guess, my concerns and questions. Again, I don't think it's a fair thing. I don't think that it should happen. I believe it will happen. I believe John Tory, as I said, is smart enough to know, unless I got the votes, I'm not going to mention something like this. It's a very divisive thing, right? Putting the drivers against the transit users, and yeah, that's it. It's simply divisive, but I believe he's in a safe spot where he's dividing Toronto against the 905, with the exemption that Doug Ford could slide in and be like, look, I'm going to represent the suburbs of Toronto and the people that are just genuinely anti-tax. That's how I feel. Again, I'd love to know how you guys feel. As always, this is Cup of Joe Canada. You can hit me on the Twitter at Cup of Joe Canada, or you can always get me at the website. You can email averagejoe@cupofjoecanada.com.